Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with my Brewdog catch-up that I've been doing for you, and for this one we're actually going to go back to summer 2015. You'll be viewing this review sometime around February 2016, but this beer I believe was released maybe in June or July of 2015, and apparently this is one of the better paleos that Brewdog have released recently. So this one is the Hop Fiction, and this should be quite nice because, as I say, I've said before, the paleo is one of the trademark styles of Brewdog along with the IPA, and I've heard from several people that this one is one of the better ones they've done, so it should be a pretty nice one for us to review, so quite looking forward to this one. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Brewdog reviews I've done before. There's about 70 of those now, so do check out the link below, and there's all the usual social media things, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you want to see more Brewdog reviews as well as other things, do subscribe to the channel, and there's many more of these coming up, so your support as always would be much appreciated. So anyway, to tell you about Brewdog quickly, as I've done many times before, so Brewdog is the love child of James Watt and Martin Dickey, and they were founded back in 2007 at a very small brewery in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose, as I always like to say. Scotland looks a bit like a monster's head, of course, but more recently they've moved to their very shiny and new purpose-built facility in Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen where I used to study. But these guys are known as being a very experimental craft brewery. They're quite prolific and release a lot of different beers, and they were also known for a period of time for their strong beers too. They held the title of World's Strongest Beer on 3 separate occasions, but they've been beaten to that now by, I believe, Schwarzbräu in Germany and a few other ones actually. They've pulled out of that race. But these guys are largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance, and if you talk to them they will tell you that one of their kind of really inspiring breweries, or one of the real influences, was Stone Brewing Company over in California. But these days they've got several brew pubs throughout the UK. These started in 2009 with their first one in Aberdeen. They spread down to Glasgow and Edinburgh and Scotland the next year, and ever since they've spread all throughout the UK. Some cities even have more than one bar these days, and they've got several international sites too. I mean, Tokyo, Sao Paulo in Brazil, a few in Sweden, some in Norway, one in Finland I think, or 2 in Finland now, and they've got them all throughout Europe. France, I think one in Germany, soon Italy. They're all over the place these days, so there's a lot of places for you to try Brewdog beer. But what's actually quite interesting about this brewery is how they've expanded so quickly, and this was through their Equity for Punks shareholding program, and this was basically where the brewery became crowdfunded, and this was where people like you, fans, could actually buy into the brewery, and you would get a lifetime discount in the shop, and they used this essentially to fund all of their infrastructure developments like new tanks at the brewery, new brew pubs, and all of this sort of thing. So they are the world's kind of premier crowd-funded brewery, so really quite cool actually, and I think they were the first guys to do that. So if you're interested in business and studying this sort of thing, then do go and read about that a little bit. It's a very interesting story, and they've released a book on that recently too, so as I say, check out the brewery website and you can read a little bit more about that. But they do have a core range of beers. There's about 6 or 7 beers in the core range, and they also have an amplified range, which is the stronger ABV beers, and they've got several one-offs and several regular series. Paradox, IPA is Dead, the Hello My Name Is series. There's quite a few regular beers, Abstract as well, so do check out and just keep an eye on what goes on at Brewdog, because there's always some quite interesting beers coming out, and they've got this seasonal range now as well. So as I say, go and check out the website and you can keep up to date with all the things going on at Brewdog. But anyway, that's enough about the brewery, so let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So as I told you at the start of the video, this one is a 5.2% paleo. The blurb on the side says, Hop Fiction meets Hop Fat. This berserker is hopped to obliteration, a paleo with more hops than you can shake a battle axe at. An all-out riot of fruit aroma with resinous piney notes gives way to an apocalyptic explosion of melon. Fasten your seatbelt for a hop ransacking. The dry bitter finish will drill you down to your boots and nail you to the deck. A pale-faced warrior for the modern age. Crank up the volume, get up some speed and head into oblivion. This is Hop Fiction, so should be quite nice. This one as well has the Norway markings on it too, which is quite interesting. So yeah, I'll just let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. This is one of the new labels, of course, on Brewdog. I say new, but they've been in existence for a little while. There you can see the blurb I've just read to you, and on this side you can see the little bit that they always put on about Brewdog itself. So this one goes out of date on the 20th of June 2016, and it's one of the regular Brewdog bottle caps on this one. So just to tell you the specs of this beer, I looked it up before I came on. So this one it's hopped with Amarillo, Chinook and Mosaic, and it has a malt base of pale malt, so it should be quite an interesting beer for us to try. So let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. I'll just get my bottle opener there. But yeah, so as you can see, nice smoky opening on this one. You can really smell the tropical fruit on this as you open it up. I have to give a shout out to the guys at Fountainhall Wines and Spirits in Aberdeen as well. They've become my Brewdog dealers recently, and they're helping me keep up to date with all these Brewdog beers that are coming out. Otherwise I would miss out a lot of them, because Brewdog are very prolific and it's quite hard to get a hold of their beers. But as you can see, this beer has poured a really nice kind of yellowy straw colour, actually, really quite a hazy one. I'm not sure how well you can see the colour of that, but you can see it is actually quite bright. I'll just bring the light down a little bit and you can see that for yourself. You can see very bright looking beer, actually, really attractive looking. I'm not sure, it does have a little bit of transparency to it, but it is quite opaque in colour. There's a quarter finger of a frothy white head on this one, some big bubbles sticking to the side of the glass, which I think you can see there. No real sedimentation visible in this one, but very attractive looking. A few smaller bubbles going up towards the bottom of the glass too, but overall it is quite a... There's not too much visible in there, but looks very, very nice. So let's give it a smell and we'll see how we get on with this guy then. Oh yeah, that's really quite tropical. That's quite interesting, actually. There is a good bit of kind of apricot or peachy note coming out of this one, I would say. You can definitely get the grapefruit, and in this beer I think that's going to come from the Chinook. The Chinook is the one that's going to give you the Chinook is the one that's going to give you the kind of nice grapefruity note. I would be surprised if there wasn't some Citra in here as well. That's what's quite interesting. I mean, the Mosaic, I'd say the Mosaic can give you a little bit more tropical complexity. There's definitely something else in here. There's a little bit of a peachy, maybe apricot-y note coming out of this one. Maybe, like, I can see where they're saying there's melons in it. You can smell a little bit of that. I want to say there's mangoes in here too. But nevertheless, as you can tell by all the things I'm telling you are coming out of this beer, the tropical note in the aroma of this beer is actually quite complex. So just pay a little bit of attention to that. See, as I always say, it's worth with the Brewdog beers especially the paleos, the IPAs, and usually the imperial stouts as well. It's always worth giving these beers a good smell before you get stuck in. But this is really nice. A lot of nice tropical fruit aroma. Some grapefruit, as I said, juicier tropical fruits like the mangoes, apricots. I want to say there's a bit of peachy note in there as well. You do get just that little bit of peachy character. There is a bit of floral aromaticity coming out of this beer as well. Maybe some orange, which is a characteristic of the Amarillo hop. But for me, the notes on this beer are more about the tropical fruits. And there is a bit of a bready backbone there too. It's just a little bit sweet as well. Yeah. But it's quite a juicy tropical fruit aroma to this one. So let's give it a taste and get stuck into this one. So this is the Hop Fiction from Brewdog in Ellon in Aberdeenshire. Slangia. Again, really quite light in the mouthfeel actually, and that's of course Brewdog makes some really nice paleos that are very, very drinkable. This one's no exception to that rule. And as I always say, just sugar the beer around your palate a little bit and let the whole palate adjust to this beer before you start to dissect the flavour. Yeah. This one is quite interesting because it's a little bit different from the other paleos I've had from Brewdog. This one is a little bit, I think this is a little bit juicier and a bit more wet in the mouthfeel. There's definitely a nice big bit of grapefruit in there. The middle of your palate is just blanketed with a very light, bready sort of pale malt character in there. There's not too much going on in the middle of the palate. This one is more about the hops, but of course a paleo is supposed to be a quite light and quite drinkable hoppy beer in fact, but it's quite nice. Yeah, there's a big focus on this one for me. The hoppy characters in the beer always come out on the edge of my tongue, and I would say In this one, at the back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of a floral aromaticity, maybe even just a little hint of earthy character. And if I remember rightly, that is something you can get just a little bit from the Mosaic hop. But yeah, I can see exactly why they're saying on the bottle there's melon flavours in this one. The fruity character is very different from what you pick up from the aroma. So yeah, as you come forward from the back corners of your palate, the beer smooths out a little bit and you get just a little bit more of the floral aromatic dryness on the front corners of the palate. But it smooths out to be very, very smooth and grassy around the very front curve of your tongue there. There is a bit of pine resin perhaps just underpinning this beer, and that of course is a trademark of the Chinook, and you can pick that up, particularly in the aftertaste. The resinous character starts to come out, but it's nowhere near as strong as some of the other beers I've come across. It's just a nice mild aroma, but that's exactly what you expect from a pale ale. A pale ale is going to be a little bit more toned down than the IPA. It's got a lower alcohol content. I believe it's a lower hops to malt ratio, if I'm not mistaken, but the hops to malt ratio is different from the IPA. But this is nice. Just behind the very front curve of the tongue, you can get that little oily bubble where all the fruity ester flavours come out. I can see why they're saying melon flavours actually, because the melon flavours for me actually spread all around the front of the tongue there, but the kind of stronger fruit flavours actually come out in that oily bubble behind the front of the tongue. I want to say there is a bit of grapefruit there. Yeah, definitely a bit of grapefruit there. Maybe the sort of pink grapefruit, I would say, but there is a little bit more than that to this beer. Probably some mangoes, a little bit of apricot, and oddly enough I'm picking up some sort of lychee flavour in there actually. I've been training my palate so that I know all of these fruit flavours, and I can really pick up some lychee, and that actually goes quite well with the sort of the mango flavours in here. There's quite a complex tropical fruit aroma to this one, and as I say, I think that comes out from the Mosaic hop. The Mosaic hop is one I haven't come across too much, but usually it's the citral hop that gives you all these complex tropical fruit flavours, but in this one it's the Mosaic hop that gives you the sort of melony and the sort of almost, there's a little bit of peach in there too, but a little bit of lychees I think too. That's where the more tropical fruit flavours are coming from in this one, the Mosaic hop. Yeah, there is a little bit of citrus in there too. The citrus isn't too pronounced in this one. The fruit flavours are quite mild actually in comparison to some of the other Brewdog beers, especially the IPAs and the double IPAs of course, but they are nice and quite subtle, and they linger in the aftertaste really well. They become a little bit more juicy. They're a lot more juicy than they are pungent, if that makes sense, and I think that's a nice little kind of change of pace from the Brewdog beers, I think, but the fruity characters just linger there and they come out a little bit more as you move into the aftertaste. The nice melon, a little bit of the lychees, you know, a bit of the kind of pink grapefruit and peaches, maybe even some mangoes and stuff in there too. There's a nice just tropical fruit bouquet sitting there behind the very front curve of the tongue, a little bit of the grassiness, and that floral aromatic character gives the beer just a little bit of dry character, but overall it's quite wet and quite refreshing, I would say. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say light to mid-bodied, probably more towards the light-bodied character actually. Carbonation in it is quite smooth. There's a little bit of oily character, but really not that much. It's more of a wet mouthfeel. As I said, there's a nice fruity juicy character in this one, and that comes out a little bit more as you move into the aftertaste. The hoppy bitterness for this one, I would say it's nowhere near as much as Brewdog have produced before, but that's nice. It actually works really well for this beer. I like the fruity juicy character that comes out of this beer, but the malt base of course is very smooth too. But yeah, I mean, overall this is another really quite solid effort from Brewdog. It's a nice sessionable beer, this one. It's not too hoppy. It's probably a good beer for people, for example, people that are lager drinkers. This is a good beer, I would say, to introduce people to craft beer. It would be really good like that because it's got a bit more flavour to it. It's got a nice little bit of fruitiness, but it's not too high on the bitterness. So this is a really good one, I think, to introduce people to craft beer actually, but the point is that this is actually meant to be a summer beer, so it's meant to be light and quite zestable and have a bit of juicy character to it, and it really hits that nail on the head for me. This is a nice beer, and I wish I'd actually got to try it on tap. That would have been really nice to try during the summer. So another big thumbs up for me for Brewdog, and the standard of their brewing is staying pretty high. There was a lot of worry about them when they moved to their new facility that the standard of brewing would drop, but I'd say when they're producing things like this, for me, this is really quite nice, and it shows them experimenting a little bit more. But yeah, really really nice summer beer, as I say, suited to those who like a less hoppy pale ale, and it's, pardon me, a good introduction for people to craft beer from lager drinking too. So yeah, really nice. It's got a bit of quirky fruit character to it as well, so you really should give it a go. Very nice. So, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to return to Brewdog and do another one of their beers that I've missed when I've been away in Sweden. Go and check out Hop Fiction if you get the chance. I'm not sure if it's going to return this year, but this was the summer beer of 2015, so I'm sure you can give this guy a try. Really, really nice. As always, let me know in the comments section below your own thoughts on this beer. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos. But until next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and please go and check out my social media things as well. There's many more Brewdog reviews coming up, so do subscribe to the channel and you will catch up with those. I've got quite a few of the other beers to do for you, so I hope you're enjoying this kind of Brewdog mini series that I'm doing for you. Until the next one though, slange just now.